Admiral Li Wu-jin stood within the towering chamber of the Federation Council on Nexus Prime. The hall's walls, carved from white stone, shimmered faintly in the alien daylight. Around him, representatives from dozens of worlds sat in semicircles, gazes fixed on the human delegation with thinly veiled contempt. In his hand rested a slim device containing the Treaty of Stellar Limitations, a document he had memorized word for word. Its rules were stark and unforgiving. No vessel over 800 meters in length, no more than 12 primary weapons per warship. Any species defying these restrictions would face united retribution from the galaxy. Drafted after the Vorak Empire's near annihilation of half the galaxy 3 centuries ago, the treaty was born of necessity. Li Wu-jin understood its origin, but also saw how it was slowly strangling humanity's survival. From the visitors' gallery, Captain Park Ji-hee watched, her anger rising. For 3 years, she had served as Earth's representative to the Federation, Defense Command, witnessing firsthand the dismissive treatment humans received. To them, humanity was a reckless, immature race, dangerous children needing supervision. Worst of all, the treaty hurt humans more than any other species. Ancient powers had centuries-old alliances. Humanity had less than 2 centuries in space, isolated, and encircled by rivals. The Alarian delegate, Velnoth, rose to speak. Tall, reed-like, with violet skin and 4 arms, his voice was a silken blade. Humans must remember their place. Young species often stumble. The treaty shields all, yourselves included. Park longed to rise and confront him, to demand answers about Drari ships seen near human colonies, to ask why the Federation ignored the vanishings of smaller races. But silence was survival. Far from Nexus Prime, Director Kim Cho sat deep beneath the mountains of South Korea in the Terran Defense Initiative's armored command bunker. A veteran of the colony wars and the asteroid rebellion, Kim knew the scent of looming disaster. Commander Cho Suman entered, face pale, datapad in hand. "Sir, we have a problem. Massive Drari fleet movements along the border." Kim scanned. The reports. The Drakari hegemony, humanity's most dangerous neighbor, was a warrior culture believing only the strong had the right to exist. For a year, they'd sent survey fleets into human-adjacent systems. The Federation called it lawful exploration. Everyone else recognized it as prelude to invasion. "How many ships?" Kim asked. "Over 200, Cho replied. "All within treaty limits, but acting in unison, a swarm of heavy cruisers could annihilate human colonies as surely as any dreadnought." The loophole was lethal. Kim rose, moving to the window. Beyond lay Sol's glittering sprawl, home to 50 million souls. Across the Federation, 12 billion humans relied on the treaty's promise of safety, a promise already crumbling. The Drari would strike, and the Federation would watch, offering platitudes as human worlds burned, just as they had while the Drakari consumed 3 lesser civilizations in the last decade. In her lab, engineer Hanbo Ra toiled late into the night. One of Earth's foremost shipwrights, she had spent months dissecting the cracks in human defenses. Her latest report, awaiting delivery to the Earth Defense Council, held grim mathematics. If the Drari launched an assault, humanity would fall. Outnumbered 10-1, even Earth's finest warships could not stand. The treaty intended to safeguard humanity had instead left it exposed. Hanbo Ra had scoured every clause, every engineering specification, hunting for an answer. The conclusion never changed. Under current law, humanity was forbidden from building the vessels required for survival. Her console chimed with an incoming transmission from Admiral Li Wu-jin, summoning her to an emergency meeting. Hanbo Ra gathered her reports and stepped onto the transport pad, a sense of inevitability tightening in her chest. The gathering took place aboard Harmony Station, the largest human installation in orbit. Around a conference table facing the stars, Earth's foremost military minds and scientists assembled at the Admiral's request. "The situation is clear," Li Wu-jin began. "The Drari are preparing for war. The Federation will not intervene. We must find another way." Director Kim Teo spoke first. "Intelligence confirms fleet concentrations in 3 sectors. They're not even hiding their movements." Captain Park Ji-hee gave a curt nod. "I've tried to rally support in the Council. The Altarians block every measure. The rest are indifferent or afraid." Hanbo Ra rose and activated a hologram, displaying the Drari deployments alongside human defenses. The disparity was crushing. "If they attack tomorrow, we'll hold for 6 months at best. Our ships are capable, but far too few. The treaty won't let us build more." "Then perhaps it's time to ignore it," said Commander Chisu Min. Silence followed. Violating the Federation Treaty meant war with the galaxy. No one had ever done so and survived. Li Wu-jin approached the window, gazing at Earth suspended like a blue gem in the void. Billions trusted their leaders to shield them, yet the very laws meant to protect had become shackles. "This treaty was written by the strong to bind the weak," he said at last. "We've played by their rules, and it will kill us. If the law won't defend us, we'll step outside it. We need ships that can deter any threat, real warships." Hanbo Ra's pulse quickened. "Admiral, if we break the treaty, the galaxy will unite against us." "They already oppose us," he replied coldly. "They're simply waiting for the moment to strike. This way, we'll be ready." The discussion stretched for hours. Staying compliant meant extinction. Defiance meant outlawry. The choice, though grim, was undeniable. Each participant left knowing their role. They would build what humanity needed, swiftly and in secret. Long after the others departed, Li Wu-jin remained at the viewport. Humanity had survived every trial: war, famine, plague. Now they faced the will of a galaxy, determined to keep them weak. "Let them come," he murmured. "We'll be ready." 6 months later, deep within the asteroid belt, something remarkable was taking shape. The mining station, known as Series 7, appeared mundane, a hub for processing ore and ice. Traffic flowed constantly, hauling resources to Earth's colonies. But Chief Engineer Yun Dai-jung knew its true purpose. From the observation deck, he watched a mining barge emerge in the construction bay. On paper, production was tied to rising mineral demand. In truth, it fed Project Titan's fist. "How's Module 7?" asked Dr. Lim Haiwan, joining him at the viewport. Small, sharp-eyed, and tireless, she had driven the project since its inception. "On schedule," Yun replied. "Hull complete, weapons installation underway. Outwardly, it's just another barge." Dr. Lim's smile carried the quiet edge of brilliance. "Perfect. Docking systems?" "Tested and retested. All 7 can join in under 5 minutes. Her design was elegant defiance. The treaty capped ships at 800 meters, but said nothing about linked craft. Each barge measured 790 meters, legal individually, but combined they formed a vessel over 2 kilometers long. Armed with 42 primary weapons, more than triple the limit, and armored beyond anything in Federation service, it would, space station and layered shields driven by 7 fusion reactors. Most critically, it would carry technologies no other species in the galaxy possessed. Captain Ryu Sun-ho entered the viewing gallery with a data pad of tactical reports. Though officially listed as Mining Operations Coordinator, he had been chosen to command the completed vessel. A quiet man with steady hands and observant eyes, he spoke evenly. "Weapons testing is complete. The railguns exceeded all projections. Range, accuracy, penetration, better than expected." Dr. Lim Huan allowed herself a satisfied nod. Human railgun systems had originated in asteroid mining, designed to fracture massive rock with surgical precision. They happened to be equally effective at ripping through starship hulls. "And the fusion torpedoes?" she asked. "Better still," Ryu replied. "We can fabricate them with standard mining gear. To everyone else, they're just demolition charges for rock breaking." This was the beauty of weapons disguised as mining tools. Every part had a harmless purpose. The reactors powered mining lasers. The armor was for asteroid impacts. The advanced sensors were for locating mineral deposits. At her station, tactical specialist Oh Min-jung glanced up. Young but brilliant, she had spent months crafting strategies for their covert warship. "I've analyzed Drari battle doctrine," she began. "They depend on numbers and brute force. Durable ships, but not tactically flexible." "What do you mean?" asked Ryu. "They fight like warriors with swords and shields," she explained. "They charge straight in and try to overwhelm. It works because most species respond the same way." She brought up a holographic display of formations and maneuvers. "Humans think differently. Our homeworld's scarcity taught us to fight smart, not just hard." This was humanity's edge. Thousands of years of conflict on one planet had honed tactics using terrain, deception, and adaptation. Lessons alien species had never needed to learn. Construction for Project Titan's Fist was scattered across human space, each module assembled at a different site to avoid suspicion. From Luna Base, Logistics Chief Kwon Yong-sik oversaw the vast operation. Publicly, it looked like humanity was in a boom. More colonies, more mining, more trade. Every piece had a plausible civilian use. "The Altarians have requested detailed logs of our mining activities," Kwon reported at the weekly meeting. "They're growing suspicious." Li Wu-jin only nodded. The Altarians had been watching since the council meeting, certain something was brewing, but lacking proof. "Give them what they want," he said. "Make the records flawless. Let them confirm we're building barges and haulers, nothing else." It was the most dangerous phase, concealing the project from the galaxy's sharpest intelligence services. One slip, and the Federation's full fury would descend. For Intelligence Officer Shin Yunji, the burden was immense. Her command center was lined with displays tracking fleet movements galaxy-wide. Most traffic was routine, but some was alarming. "The Drari are accelerating," she reported. "Reserves mobilized, supplies pushed to forward bases. I estimate they'll be ready in 3 months." The deadline tightened. Titan's Fist was close to completion, but testing and crew drills remained. An early Drari strike would mean facing them half-prepared. "There's something else," Shin Yunji continued. "Federation intelligence has begun asking pointed questions about our mining operations. They know something is underway." Admiral Li Wu-jin reviewed the reports in silence. The Federation wasn't blind. They could see humanity's industrial surge. What they lacked was context. "How long before they know?" he asked. "Hard to say," Shin Yunji replied. "Weeks, maybe days. The Altarians are dispatching an inspection fleet. If they find our sites..." She didn't need to finish. Discovery would mean an immediate assault by Federation forces. Humanity would stand alone, unready. Dr. Lim Hwan pushed herself without rest, racing to finish final preparations. The 7 Titans Fist modules were almost complete, but linking them proved more difficult than anticipated. Each segment had to align with flawless precision. Power grids needed seamless integration. Weapons targeting systems had to synchronize across all 7. "We need more time," she told Li Wu-jin in an emergency briefing. "Docking works, but isn't perfect. If we separate and reconnect during combat, there's a 30% chance of failure." "How much more?" 3 weeks minimum. 4 would be ideal. Li Wu-jin glanced at Shin Yunji's latest updates. The Drari would be battle-ready in under 3 weeks. The Federation inspectors would arrive sooner. "We don't have, 3 weeks," he said grimly. "We may not have 3 days." The first full docking trial occurred in Jupiter's shadow, safely beyond Federation scans. 3 modules approached one another cautiously, crews holding their breath as docking clamps extended. From the command module, Hanbo Ra watched the connections seal. Lights flickered as systems meshed, weapons targeting came online. For the first time, part of humanity's weapon existed as one. All systems green, reported the integration tech. Modules 1, 3, and 5 fully linked. Tears pricked Hanbo Ra's eyes. What had been a desperate idea to stave off extinction was now reality. 3 modules merged into a vessel over 2,000 meters long. When all 7 joined, it would be the most formidable warship in the galaxy. How fast can they separate? She asked. 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Well, within combat parameters. It was essential. Damaged sections could detach to keep the fight alive, or the formation could split to confound enemies and merge again for maximum firepower. Captain Ryu Sun-ho studied the data with growing satisfaction. The modular approach was more than a disguise from Federation oversight. It was a tactical revolution. Traditional warships are fortresses, he told his officers, strong but fixed. Our ship is a wolf pack, able to hunt together or scatter when needed. The potential was limitless. 7 modules could envelop an enemy fleet. 3 could strike while 4 provided cover. A crippled unit could withdraw without dooming the rest. Far away in the grand chamber of the Federation Council, silence reigned. Delegates from across the stars sat frozen as Corfax, war leader of the Drari hegemony, concluded his ultimatum. Towering nearly 3 meters, encased in armor grown over eons of war, his clawed arms could shred steel. His voice rumbled like distant storms. The human species has 17 days to vacate the following star systems, he declared, holding a data crystal aloft. Keeper 442, Wolf 359, Proxima Centauri, and 14 others. These will be placed under Drari protection for the preservation of galactic peace. Chancellor Theos, an elder whose people had helped draft the original peace accords, struggled to keep his composure. His tentacles coiled and uncoiled in restrained agitation as he answered. War leader Corfax, he began, the Federation cannot condone the forced displacement of 40 million human citizens. These colonies possess full legal status under galactic law. Corfax's mandibles clicked in a sound akin to laughter among his kind. Legal rights belong only to those strong enough to uphold them. Humans are weak. They shelter behind treaties while others grow in power. This cannot endure. In the human delegation section, Captain Park Ji-hai gripped her seat so hard her knuckles whitened. She longed to confront the Drari leader, but Admiral Li Wu-jin's orders were absolute. Stay silent. Observe. Everything hinged on keeping their secret for a few more days. The Altarian envoy Velnath rose with smooth elegance. His violet skin shimmered faintly under the chamber's artificial light as he addressed the council. Perhaps, he said in his silken, detached voice, this matter calls for careful diplomacy. The Altarian Republic proposes a negotiated compromise. Surely some accord can be found. Yet the hollowness of his words was clear. The Altarians had no wish to endanger their fleets for human worlds. Their preferred strategy was to let lesser powers bleed while they remained comfortably neutral. The Zenthari Union delegate, a crystalline entity whose thoughts resonated as soft chimes, offered only humanitarian relief. The Yadabat Zenthari will provide refugee transports and temporary quarters for displaced humans, it sang. We cannot, however, take military action in what appears to be a localized dispute. Park Ji-hai's stomach twisted. 40 million lives were being written off as acceptable loss. This was exactly as Admiral Li Wu-jin had foreseen. The peaceful Librarian Collective, a species dedicated entirely to safeguarding knowledge, withdrew deeper into their archives. Their envoy simply stated they would record these events for posterity, then fell silent. Across the human frontier, the ultimatum. struck like a hammer. Governor Bae-in-suk of New Seoul Colony received the evacuation command in the central plaza of her capital. Around her, 40,000 citizens went about their routines, oblivious to the fact their world was marked for abandonment. She read the message 3 times before the truth settled in. Earth Command ordered a complete withdrawal from 17 star systems, 60 million people to be relocated to already overcrowded core worlds. Decades of colonial effort would be surrendered to the Drari without resistance. "Ma'am?" asked her aide, Colonel Jin Wang. "Your orders?" Bae-in-suk gazed at the city her people had carved from a hostile planet. New Seoul had begun as a scattering of prefab shelters. Now it boasted universities, hospitals, parks, museums. 3 generations had been born here. This was their home. "Transmit to Earth Command," she said quietly. "New Seoul Colony rejects. Evacuation. We will not surrender our home." Her stance ignited a wave of defiance. Governor Park Min-ho of the mining world Prosperity declared independence rather than submit to Drari control. The agricultural worlds of the Greenbelt voted unanimously to fight. Within hours, 17 colonies openly defied Earth's authority. Commander Jang Hyun-woo of the Terran 4th Fleet received contradictory orders in the same hour. Earth Command demanded evacuation. The colonial governors demanded defenses. A coded message from Admiral Lee Woo-jin arrived containing a single word: wait. Jang Hyun-woo, a disciplined career officer, had never defied a direct order. But he was human, and he understood. Earth was sacrificing the colonies to preserve the core. The colonies had chosen death with honor over life in exile. He decided. "Signal all ships," he ordered his communications officer. "The 4th Fleet will remain on station to defend our colonies. Anyone wishing to return to Earth space may do so without explanation." Not a single vessel departed. The crisis intensified when long-range scanners picked up massive Drari fleet movements. War leader Corfax had assembled the greatest armada in Drari history. Over 300 warships advancing toward human borders, packed with weapons and warriors hungry for conquest. Dr. Lim Haiwan drove her teams to the edge as news of the oncoming enemy reached their concealed construction zones. The 7 modules of Titan's Fist were complete, but final integration trials were unfinished. Every hour mattered. "Docking systems at 95% efficiency," she told Admiral Lee Woo-jin in an emergency conference. "We can deploy now, but there's a risk of failures during combat separation and reconnection." "What kind of risk?" he asked. "If we separate under fire, there's a 20% chance 1 or more modules won't reattach, leaving them to fight alone." Lee Woo-jin studied the tactical plots of Drari fleet positions. They would breach human space in less than 72 hours. There was no more time for tests. "Deploy anyway," he ordered. "A 95% dreadnought is better than none at all." Captain Ryu Sang-ho received his final briefing on the bridge of Module 1. Around him, his crew readied for battle. Most had been miners or haulers, secretly training for months. They weren't professional soldiers, but they were humans defending their homes. "All stations report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Weapons charged. Docking systems green. All 7 modules aligned for integration." Ryu Sang-ho gazed at the other 6 modules sliding into formation. Each appeared to be an ordinary mining barge. Federation sensors would see nothing unusual until it was far too late. "Signal Admiral Lee Woo-jin," he said. "Titan's Fist is ready for deployment." The Federation's answer to the crisis was exactly as humanity had predicted. Chancellor Theos called for an emergency session to condemn Drari aggression. The Altarians suggested a strongly worded communique. The Zenthari promised to mediate after the fighting ended. Intelligence officer Shin Yun-ji intercepted transmissions between Federation members. The contents confirmed humanity's worst fears. The great powers had already abandoned the colonies, framing the ultimatum as a purely human affair. "They're not coming," she told Admiral Li Wu-jin. "The Federation will issue protests and send aid to refugees, but they won't commit ships to defend human worlds." This was the moment Li Wu-jin had prepared for since the project began. Humanity faced an enemy that outnumbered them 10 to 1. 50 years of lawful conduct offered no shield. Trusted allies had deserted them. But humanity held one secret advantage. While the galaxy debated, humans had been building across human space. Emergency sessions erupted. On Earth, President Kim Jong-un heard demands to negotiate. Many argued that surrendering 17 colonies was better than risking extinction. "We cannot fight the entire Drari hegemony," warned Defense Minister Lee Jin-young. "Our fleets are outnumbered 3 to 1. Resistance could bring them to Earth's doorstep." But Li Wu-jin had allies who knew of Project Titan's fist. Foreign Minister Choi Hee-jin rose to speak. "The Drari ultimatum is not about 17 colonies. It's about humanity's survival as a free people. If we yield today, what will we yield tomorrow?" The debate dragged on while Drari scouts probed the outer systems. The invasion fleet would arrive in under 48 hours. President Kim Da-yun faced the gravest choice of her life: evacuate and save 60 million now, or fight and risk annihilation. The Drari Armada surged into the Kepler 442 system like a storm of steel and death. War leader Corfax stood on the bridge of his flagship Blood of Conquest, watching his displays with grim satisfaction. 127 heavy cruisers in perfect formation, backed by 340 escorts, 60,000 Drari. Warriors crowded the decks, hungry for their first taste of human blood. Intelligence had been clear. Kepler 442 was The agricultural colony was lightly defended, home to roughly 40,000 human civilians. 3 human patrol craft were stationed in-system alongside scattered civilian traffic. It seemed an easy target to begin their conquest. The war leader listened as his sensor officer reported, "We detect 7 vessels in the inner system. They appear to be mining barges, likely evacuating valuable ore before our arrival." Corax examined the readings. 7 ships, each about 800 meters long, clearly civilian and well within Federation treaty limits. They posed no danger to his powerful fleet. "Ignore them," he ordered. "Concentrate on the orbital defenses around the colony. We'll deal with the freighters once the system is ours." Yet something was wrong. The 7 human ships weren't fleeing. They were converging in a tight cluster. Their power signatures spiked far beyond normal for mining craft. Captain Ko Jin of the escort destroyer Sharp Claw spotted it first. Her ship's enhanced sensors showed odd readings. "War leader," she reported, "those barges are generating massive power surges. Reactor output is beyond civilian norms." "Likely straining their drives to flee," Corax replied dismissively. "Human systems fail easily under stress." But aboard the human escort, determined communications officer Pog Ji-soo intercepted. Drakari chatter, and her blood ran cold. "Captain," she said urgently, "the Drakari are discussing cleansing operations and acceptable civilian losses. They're not here to occupy. They intend to kill everyone." The Drakari had... This was no occupation, it was extermination. Admiral Li Wu-jin received the intercept aboard Module 1, his crew making final checks as the 7 Titans fist modules slid into position. The moment had come. "Open a channel to the Drakari fleet," he ordered. Corax was startled. No human had ever addressed a Drakari armada mid-operation. "This is Admiral Li Wu-jin of the Terran Dreadnought Humanity's Defiance," came the calm voice. "You have entered sovereign human space. Withdraw or face consequences." Corax's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Dreadnought, I see only 7 barges and a few escorts. Where is this mighty ship?" "You're looking at it," Wu-jin replied. Then the impossible began. The 7 mining barges closed with mechanical precision no civilian could match. Hidden clamps deployed, power conduits locked together, and hull segments shifted into place with unnatural smoothness. Drakari sensor crews stared as 7 moderate ships became one massive warship, over 2,000 meters long in barely 5 minutes. "Impossible," breathed Korax. "The treaty forbids such construction." "The Federation Treaty," Wu Jin replied coldly, "no longer applies to humanity." Humanity's defiance was like nothing the galaxy had seen. Its hull bristled with unclassified weaponry. Railgun turrets unfolded from disguised cargo bays. Missile pods emerged where mining gear should be. Point defense lasers flowered from every surface. "All ships, attack formation!" Korax roared. 50 heavy cruisers surged forward, their plasma and missile systems unmatched. Until now. The Dreadnoughts' opening salvo unleashed weapons born from centuries of asteroid mining, railguns, hurling slugs at phenomenal speeds. Drakari shields shredded like paper, armor split under kinetic force. Fusion torpedoes followed, detonating like newborn suns inside enemy hulls. Ships vanished in reactor bursts. Then came the greatest shock. Humanity's defiance mounted thousands of point defense lasers, obliterating every inbound missile in a blinding curtain of fire. Deep within the ship, Engineer Song Minho directed damage control from his station. Inside the human vessel, the Drakari unleashed everything in their arsenal at humanity's defiance, and some impacts broke through. Yet the ship's modular construction proved its brilliance. "Hull breach in Section 4, Engineer Song Minho reported. "Sealing blast doors and rerouting power. Combat capability remains at 100%. The genius of the design was clear. Damaged segments could be isolated instantly, allowing the rest of the ship to keep fighting while repairs were underway. Dr. Noya Jin, Chief Medical Officer, raced to treat the injured, but was astonished at how well the vessel shielded its crew. Medical bays lay buried deep within each module, wrapped in armor and redundant defenses. "Casualties are lighter than projected," she reported. "Armor performance exceeds simulations." The battle reached its turning point when war leader Korax realized his tactics were failing. His ships fell faster than they could damage the Dreadnought. In desperation, he ordered the unthinkable. "All vessels ramming speed. We'll tear it apart with our own claws if we must." 100. Drakari ships surged toward humanity's defiance in a final frenzied assault, a maneuver that had broken countless foes before. But Tactical Officer Omen Young had anticipated exactly this. "All modules, execute scatter protocol," she commanded. In mid-battle, the Dreadnought split apart. 7 modules flew in a complex, 3-dimensional weave, the Drakari charge plunging through empty space as their single massive target dissolved before their eyes. Then the humans struck, reforming behind the enemy, merging into one colossal vessel once more. Now humanity's defiance was inside the Drakari formation, point blank. Human weapons erupted in every direction, shredding the tightly packed ships in seconds. The Battle of Kepler 442 lasted only 3 hours, but changed galactic history. When it ended, the Drakari vanguard was gone. War leader Korax was captured after human boarding parties breached his flagship's bridge. The Dreadnought floated amid wreckage, hull battered yet unbroken. Around it drifted the shattered remains of what had once been among the most feared warships in the galaxy. Admiral Li Wu Jin stood on the bridge, surveying the carnage, not with joy, but with the grim satisfaction of survival. "Signal all human forces," he ordered. "The Drakari vanguard is destroyed. Humanity stands." But he knew this was merely the beginning. News would race across the stars within hours. The Federation would demand answers. Species would be forced to choose sides. The age of humanity's quiet obedience was over. "Sir," his comms officer reported, Transmissions are flooding in, colonies are celebrating. Earth Command demands a full report. A pause. The Federation Council has called an emergency session. Wu Jin nodded. Breaking the treaty would have consequences far beyond this battle. Prepare a message for the Council. Tell them humanity formally withdraws from the Treaty of Stellar Limitations. We will defend ourselves by any means necessary. The emergency session had dragged on for 18 hours. Across the galaxy, delegates shouted, argued, and threatened, the future of civilization trembling in the balance. The Grand Chamber, once a symbol of unity, echoed with fury and calls for war. Chancellor Thios looked older than his 8 centuries as he fought to maintain order, tentacles waving for calm. No one listened. The Kepler 442 news had shattered the Federation's core. "The humans have committed war against the galaxy," roared the Altarian delegate, skin deepening to violent purple, all 4 arms flailing. "They've broken the most sacred law in our history." The Zenthari Union's crystalline representative pulsed with chaotic light. "The Treaty of Stellar Limitations preserved peace for 300 years, it sang in jarring tones. Humanity's defiance endangers all worlds. But other voices rose. The Cathar Mining Consortium's delegate, a species quietly oppressed for decades, stood with rare courage. "Perhaps," they said carefully, "we should ask why humanity broke the treaty. They faced genocide at Drakari hands, and the Federation gave only hollow words." A murmur spread. For the first time, the treaty's worth was questioned. The Librarian Collective's representative, a being of ancient wisdom, spoke like pages turning. "Our records show 47 species destroyed under Federation protection. Perhaps the law protects no one." Meanwhile, across human space, 3 more dreadnoughts revealed themselves to a stunned galaxy. Captain Lee Sububin commanded Terra's vengeance as it emerged from hidden near the Tau Ceti colonies. The second dreadnought was even more advanced than the first, incorporating every lesson from Kepler 442. "All systems green," her tactical officer reported. 7 modules fully integrated, weapons charged and ready. Terra's Vengeance took station to defend the human worlds of Sector 7, where reports placed Drakari reserve fleets massing. Captain Lee Su-bin had studied Admiral Li Wu-jin's battle recordings in detail, ready to apply those tactics in her own engagement. Meanwhile, Commander Park Min brought colonial pride online near the frontier worlds that had declared independence rather than submit to evacuation. His ship was tasked with guarding the colonies that chose to fight instead. A flee. "Signal all colonial governments," he ordered. "The Terran Defense Force stands with you. Any enemy who wants your worlds will have to go through us." But the greatest revelation had yet to unfold. Dr. Lim Hewan, during months of covert construction, had gone far beyond building individual dreadnoughts. Her team had designed them to operate as a single entity. When a Zenthari peacekeeping fleet of 200 warships arrived to restore order in human space, they found something that defied reason. The 4 human dreadnoughts were physically linked in a configuration that should have been structurally impossible. The unified vessel stretched over 8,000 meters, bristling with nearly 200 primary weapons, railguns, missile batteries, and layered defenses that made each separate dreadnought seem small. "This is Captain Ryu Sung-ho of the Combined Human Fleet. Humanity United," came the transmission. "You have entered human space without permission during wartime. Withdraw, or be destroyed." The Zenthari commander studied the readings once, then ordered a full retreat. They might destroy the human superweapon, but the price would be catastrophic. The Zenthari had not remained a galactic power by taking needless risks. Within hours, news of their withdrawal swept the galaxy. Humanity had not merely broken the treaty. They had rendered it meaningless. If humans could build ships that outgunned entire fleets, what was stopping other species from following suit? The answer arrived quickly. The Kitha Mining Consortium announced construction of its own defense fleet. The Harvest Alliance's agricultural worlds declared independence from Alaran protection. Even small but fierce warrior clans began building ships in violation of treaty limits. On Luna Base, intelligence officer Shin Yunji tracked the upheaval. Her displays lit up with reports of new shipyards springing up across the stars like blossoms after rainfall. The rigid treaty system that had kept lesser powers weak was collapsing everywhere. "Admiral," she reported to Li Wu-jin, "we're tracking weapons programs on 17 worlds. Everyone's building bigger ships." Li Wu-jin read the reports with a mix of pride and unease. Humanity had sought only the right to defend itself, but their defiance had ignited an arms race that could destabilize the galaxy. "Any hostile moves toward human space?" he asked. "That's the strange part," Shin Yunji replied. "Most new fleets are aimed at long-time oppressors, not us. The Cathar are arming against Alaran expansion. The Harvest Alliance is preparing to resist Zenthari taxation. No one's preparing to fight us." It was the unintended consequence of humanity's stand. By proving the treaty could be defied, they had inspired dozens of other species were beginning to rise as, well, the galaxy was becoming more militarized, but also in many corners, more free. The crisis peaked when 7 major powers formed a coalition to contain the human threat. The Altarians, Zenthari, Drakari, and 4 other influential species announced plans to build warships that would make human dreadnoughts seem like toys. Their message carried a clear warning: surrender the dreadnoughts and return to treaty compliance, or face war with the galaxy's oldest, most powerful civilizations. But humanity was no longer the isolated, defenseless race it had been a year earlier. The Kitha pledged formal alliance, trading their advanced mining technology for human military protection. The Librarian Collective supplied intelligence on coalition fleet deployments. Even some members within the Federation Council began quietly supporting Earth's stance. The confrontation everyone feared came when the coalition armada arrived at the edge of human space. Over 1,000 ships from 7 species massed beyond the Sol system, the largest gathering of military force in galactic history. Admiral Li Wu-jin stood aboard humanity's Defiance, now flagship of a force that included human dreadnoughts, Kitha mining vessels refitted for war, and volunteer ships from a dozen allied worlds. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "incoming transmission from the Coalition fleet. They demand our immediate surrender." Before Li Wu-jin could answer, an unexpected request arrived. Former Federation delegate Velnoth asked to board the human flagship under a flag of truce. The Altarian looked far older than when he had once dismissed humanity in the Federation chamber, his purple skin pale, his forearms trembling as he spoke. "Admiral Li Wu-jin," he said formally, "I come with an offer from the Coalition leadership." "I'm listening," Wu-jin replied cautiously. "The galaxy is changing," Velnoth admitted. "Your defiance has inspired dozens of species to build their own defense fleets. The old treaty is dead, whether we admit it or not." He hesitated, clearly struggling with words that contradicted centuries of belief. "We propose a new treaty, one that recognizes humanity as the Federation's 7th major power. You would keep fleets proportionate to your territory and population. In return, you would help forge a galactic order based on mutual strength rather than enforced weakness." Wu-jin was silent for a long moment. This was far more than humanity had imagined possible when they began their secret dreadnought program. "And if we refuse?" he asked. Velnoth's voice darkened. "Then we go to war. The Coalition will build ships larger than yours. Millions could die, and the galaxy will be left shattered." Negotiations began on a neutral station in the asteroid belt between the 2 fleets. For 3 weeks, diplomats from every corner of known space worked to design a new order. The result became known as the Terran Galactic Accords. Humanity was recognized as the Federation's seventh major power, and every species gained the right to maintain defensive fleets scaled to their needs. Most critically, the Accords established a system where disputes would be settled through negotiation among equals, no longer dictated by the strong to the weak.